Oi, oi, it's Friday. Come on, Jim, let's have it.
Yeah, well, I can't have it until you open the weekend, mate. So I'm ready to go. Let me in.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to let you in to something which is far greater than any weekend that you've ever experienced. Because today is the day, everybody. Tickets for our Ramble live show are out now. It's Friday, 20th of September, 2024. We're playing at one of the most prestigious, storied venues in London, the London Palladium. I can't believe it. Neither can the venue, but we're doing it.
They can't go back on it
No,
now.
they can't. We've signed everything that we need to sign. The Palladium has hosted Adele. It's hosted Madonna. It's even hosted Sir Cliff Richard. I don't know if he was Sir at the time. I assume so. He's been one of them for a long time. But of course, Luke Morit will now host us. And for one night only, we are bringing you Football Ramble Time Tunnel, a journey through football history like no other. It's going to be a night full of surprises, full of laughs, and full of fellow Ramble listeners. So go to footballramblelive.com right now to get your tickets. That's footballramblelive.com to get your tickets. Don't be late. Start your weekend in fantastic fashion by getting hold of the tickets. And I tell you what, I'm full of excitement.
If they buy all the tickets, we'll promise you we will write the show.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
right.
we'll
That's the
perform
deal.
it.
That's the
Well,
deal.
you've already promised to be Cliff, haven't you?
I will, Sir Cliff, actually, Andy, if you don't mind.
Right, okay.
This might be the thing that pushes me over the limit to get myself a knighthood.
Yeah.
For services to Sir Cliff Richard, knight me.
Services to deception.
I've told everyone we fully plan to be supported on the night by the ghost of Bruce Forsyth,
Yep.
who we're going to raise from the dead because he's buried under the Palladium.
That's right.
And
His
he's
ashes, he's not buried under there.
whether people like
His
it or not.
essence is there, mate.
Yeah,
So it should
right.
do the trick.
It should.
It's not
Stop being silly.
Yeah, it's not factually incorrect to say that Bruce Forsyth will be in attendance. He will.
Yeah, and not just because I won my entertainer's badge in the Cub Scouts for doing an impression of him.
Did you really?
Wow.
Andy,
Do you think you'll be busting that out on the night?
Hang on, I've got to put this down the notes
yeah,
for the show.
Andy.
Andy's doing that.
You've
Mug yourself right off.
You're
mate.
right.
really
First
have.
of all, tanks on Marcus's lawn, because that's one of his impressions.
no, not at all. I'm so glad that somebody has finally stepped forward for an impression of. And it's happening at the Palladium, Andy. You've just agreed to it.
Endorsed by Baden Powell, mate. What can I say?
Yeah.
Well,
careful.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be great. Andy's going to do his Bruce impression. I'm going to do mine. And we're going to have a referendum on who's got the best one and who should stop doing it forever.
I'll only do it if it sells out by the end of today.
A Bruce Forsyth impression off retirement match.
Yeah.
Where if you lose, you can never do another impression of Bruce Forsyth again.
Stood on the ashes of the actual Bruce Forsyth.
That's what he would have
Lest
wanted.
we forget.
We'll get his wife. It's late. His wife come out. It's what he would have wanted.
Unbelievable.
What?
Bringing in family members.
Sorry. It'll be much more offensive than this on the night. Much more.
Oh, dear. Moving on very swiftly. Let's go to Brighton and Hove Albion 0. Manchester City 4. Manchester City bagged their biggest away win in 2 years to move within a point of Arsenal. Ooh, Jim, here they come.
I was surprised to hear that's their biggest away win 2 years.
Yeah, I
because you
was
think of
too.
them just knocking everyone over.
Yeah.
And but I mean, as I said to you guys in the WhatsApp group, it's the night before a Ramble record when there's a football match happening. It is always good to get it out of the way and get into bed early. None of this extra. I know it's a league game, but none of this extra time nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise,
It's a journalist dream. You've got your entire report written by about 50 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brighton, I feel like also saying, like, I don't know if there's any kind of science behind this, but the third goal that Brighton conceded, and I know you guys probably want to talk about De Bruyne's flying header, but the third goal Brighton conceded, I feel like they concede that exact goal to Man City every single time they play them.
Yeah, well, they probably do.
And they knock it about like that, trying to impress the bigger boy. Now, this is we play football like this as well,
Yeah.
and it's like Daniel LaRusso trying to beat Mr. Miyagi. You're never going to do it. He won't even move a muscle. That Mr. Miyagi will just move out the way, give you a little jab, and you're down. And that's what Man City did.
Exactly. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that Kevin De Bruyne, though, because it was his first ever headed goal in the Premier League.
Surprising,
and he
isn't it?
took it superbly. And maybe he was aware of that as well, because the way the ball comes in, you think, well, there's a volleying opportunity. And if a volleying opportunity presents itself, it doesn't matter what pitch you're playing on around the world, you are duty-bound to take it.
You're contractually obliged to take it.
But some people are.
You press that button.
Yeah, and yet he stooped down, Jim, and it was beautiful.
Maybe he was aware of the stat. He's
Yeah.
like, well, you know what? I need to get one header in at least.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a great header, but it was a non-header's header.
It was a header. It was a header by
Definitely.
someone who doesn't header very often.
Yeah, yeah.
But just the
Pretty
distance of
effective.
it alone is unusual, isn't it? That people even try it from there.
I think he probably thought, yeah, I'll give it a go.
What
Nice
goal?
bit of impro. That's all it is.
What tournament did Van Persie score an amazing diving header like that?
2014
14 World Cup
Yeah.
against Spain.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
he's
that-
fully horizontal.
But he dived more, didn't he?
Yeah, that was
than
amazing.
De Bruyne did.
I mean, that was a beautiful goal. He Van Persie had time and he had options.
Yeah,
And it was like Keith Houchin on a rocket ship.
and it was a massive. It was the end of a lovely move, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it got them going pretty early on, and 3-0 up at half time, easy peasy. And I mean, it's just not what Arsenal fans wanted, was it?
To be honest, Marcus, watching it, because they went 1-0 up pretty early, and then
You thought
obviously
that's fine, that's that.
they go 2-0 up pretty early for probably shouldn't have been a free kick, so make that 116.
Yeah, because Foden slipped over, didn't he?
Yeah, but that's not why they won. They were going to win that all day.
Nottingham Forest have done a tweet. They have done a tweet about it. They said, this is. We want explanations on this.
Yet
Yeah.
more evidence.
But it became so obvious so quickly that City were just going to walk this. It's like, well, it's fine, isn't it? Like, Brighton aren't the one. We need someone to step up and be the one. Hopefully the other Londoners. Chelsea did their bit the other night. Thank you, lads.
Yep.
Okay, I'll list the games they've got left to play,
Yeah.
and you just say yes or no whether you think they might be the one that could do it.
Jim, stand with me.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest,
Nope.
Wolves,
Not seeing that.
Fulham.
Here we go.
Oh,
Here we go.
God, maybe.
A draw would do it.
A more,
Arsenal's goal. I think Arsenal could do this on goal difference.
a more complicated one for you. Spurs.
Yeah, but this is the beautiful thing. I really hope that because those, as I said before, when Spurs were cheering Bayern over Arsenal, I was thinking it's in Spurs' interest for Arsenal to go through that particular round. But oh no, the old rivalry got in the way.
Yeah.
Well, it will be delicious if it goes into that game and they really need to clinch fourth with Villa and they need a victory against Man City.
Yeah.
I
What
can
are they
see
going
it.
to do?
I can see it.
And West Ham. No.
Gotcha.
West Ham like mugging people off.
Yeah.
They're at their best when they know they've got an opportunity to bloody someone's nose
That's true.
in their own stadium.
Small-minded. Just say small-minded.
Leave you to say it.
Man City have lost one game in the Premier League since October 10th. October 8th.
Look, I'm
Which was against
clutching at
Arsenal, by the way.
straws. We all have to clutch at straws here. But yeah, Brighton weren't the
But
one.
they don't
So-
need to lose. They just need Man City to
Indeed.
draw. Presumably Arsenal win all the games.
So it was. There was no point really where I was like, oh, Brighton might get something here, and I was actually almost grateful that I could just watch it, feeling relaxed. I think if you're a City fan, there was a point in that game where I thought City fans must be so relaxed here. I wouldn't be surprised if Noel's given Liam a call and gone, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get the
to
band
celebrate
back together.
to celebrate the Premier League title.
Well,
win,
just
maybe.
because they're so chilled out.
Yeah.
It was such
Yeah.
a foregone conclusion that Nolly G went to the Milan derby instead this week, didn't he?
Yeah, there you are.
I just think he should be kept away from football. Not going.
No, he's allowed to go to games. You
But he's
just
not
mean
to say anything.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a huge surprise. I mean, here's an Opta stat for you. Brighton have won just 6 of their last 27 Premier League games. Since the start of this spell in September, only Burnley, Forest and Sheffield United have won fewer matches in the league.
But you look
They're
at
not in great shape.
No, but I think you look at the team they were able to put out yesterday, and that was the problem. When Jim talked about, not being heartbroken because you knew what was happening all along, it wasn't just the chronology of the goal, was it? And, it was a kind of City training session in the end. They were so comfortable.
Yeah.
But when you saw the Brighton team, you're like, who is this team beating? Not a lot of Premier League teams. Now, I think if you look where Brighton have come from, if you look at the amount they've been stretched, first ever European campaign, the adventures their fans have had, which has been spectacular, the fact that they've reached this point in the season with those injuries, with that amount of miles in their legs, and actually, I mean, they're not going to make Europe, but until the last week or two, they've kind of been in with a chance.
I mean, they're still 11th.
I think that's pretty impressive, and I think most Brighton fans would understand that. I think it's not the surprise. The run is not the surprise. That it's not been worse is the surprise.
Well, no, fair enough, Andy. Good to have a bit of balance there. I appreciate that. So Brighton is still very much on for obviously at least mid-table, could finish in the top half. And I know some people say, what's the big thing about a top half finish? Was a club like Brighton maybe not, but some clubs like I think Bournemouth and Fulham certainly would be a bit like
Yeah.
It's
It's a good thing to finish higher than it is to finish lower. That's the explanation.
Bit of Brucey again.
Hard attempt for your save.
So, yes. Speaking of those who perhaps are not so understanding at the moment, Nottingham Forest, they do host the aforementioned Manchester City on Sunday. Now, in what could be the end of Nottingham Forest standoff with the Pugmole posse, is that the Pugmole chief Howard Webb is holding so-called peace talks with the club's owners this week, at which the VAR audio of all 3 penalty appeals will be played out loud.
So I think
Have they agreed to peace?
Yeah, I think Forrest would call it peace talks, whereas Howard Webb would just call it an annoying meeting that he's got to do
Yeah,
in his diary.
Howard Webb's, he's going to give a lecture, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, can it be an email? Can I just do an email? No, it's got to be a meeting.
Yeah, but I actually think it would be the other way around. I think Howard Webb wants to meet them, and I don't think they want. I think they're quite happy to kind of stay in their little bunker and just lob grenades. Whereas I think Howard Webb is like, okay, right, let's have a chat about this, because this is spiraling, this is silly. You're a proud, proper football club, and I'm not going to let you go any further than what you have on this. So that's how I would.
Well, what I think he should. I agree with that sentiment. However, the execution should be what he should do is go into the Forest boardroom. Yeah. There's going to be assorted people around there. Maybe there's 5 or 6. Wallers in there.
Yeah, could be some sandwiches as well.
Yeah, probably are. There probably will be. Yeah. And Howard Webb should go on his own, and he should be dressed like a hitman. And he should walk in there, and he should grab someone at random. Right, might be Marinakis.
Let's just say Marinakis. Let's have a bit of fun with that.
Well, the problem is it falls down because I'm saying what he should do is quite simply strangle someone to death.
Yeah. There will be consequences for that if you do that to Marinakis. More than anyone in the room.
It would also be quite hard
very
to do.
difficult. Howard Webb would look like a hitman pretty easily, though. He just needs a sharp suit.
I've met Howard Webb, and he's definitely got it in him.
He's built, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think if the Premier League or Sky, rather, want to make this mic'd up show a success, just put the whole meeting on that.
Yeah, it'd be better than Michael Owen.
Massively. No, Michael Owen should be there, just for weirdness.
Michael Owen should be looking around in the background trying to find the right meeting room.
Jim, what if Forest were the one? What if Forest were the one? I know it seems unlikely on recent form.
I don't think Jim would like that.
I didn't at the match at Forest Manchester City, this same fixture last season.
Oh, yes.
And incredible atmosphere at the City ground, as it always is. City went in front through a Bernardo Silva banger and created enough chances to win about 4 games, actually. Missed them all. And Chris Wood equalised right near the end. So who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
form.
City do have that in them, don't they?
Well, last night, actually, just after the start of the second half, Kyle Walker miscontrolled a long ball, and it sort of went through his legs and it looked a bit like he'd laid an egg. So cracks are starting to appear.
That is my kind of straw.
It's great.
I like that.
It's a sign. It's one of those
Take
kind
what
of.
you can.
It's one of those like portents.
Yeah.
Like, that you see in like medieval villages back in the day. And you're like, oh, man's laid an egg. Oh, that means the harvest, the Premier League harvest is going to be shit. Could be that, couldn't it? I think we all know what's going to happen here. Arsenal are going to not get a win against Spurs at 2:00, and then Man City are going to lose.
You think?
About that 2 hours later.
Well,
it's all possible.
It is all possible. Obviously, as you say, Spurs are hosting Arsenal at 2:00 on Sunday. I mean, 2 years ago, Arsenal went to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at this point in the season, needing a win to secure just Champions League football back in those dark days, and they lost 3-0 and missed out on 4th.
Yeah, I remember I was at that game.
It seems
It was very, very disappointing.
an extraordinarily long time ago, that does.
Yeah.
Which I had to surprise. It was just 2 years ago.
Antonio Conte smashing it.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rob Holding sent off. Wasn't it?
I believe so.
But the thing is, Antonio Conte smashing it, winning against
What was he
big rivals
smashing?
3-0. Well, everything in his
Okay,
past.
right.
And although Spurs fans kind of were pleased to beat Arsenal, because of course they are, and they go through the motions, secretly everyone was also hating it.
Yeah.
Because it was absolutely shit. Like Antonio Conte at Spurs, that the football was so bad.
Oh, come on, they enjoyed that night, though.
I've
did.
just said that. I've just said that.
That run towards the Champions League was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, like it was all underpinned by like massive and endless tantrums by Conte, complaining about everything all the time.
He did ramp up towards the end. I think Andy's got a point, though. I think that there were some high points, like when they beat, was it Man City 3-2? And so, why are we talking about Conte and Spurs?
That's some great results. That's some great results.
A friend of mine is a Spurs fan, and he was talking about Ange Postecoglou to me a little while ago, and he's genuinely just happy to have a manager that likes football.
Yeah.
It does feel very different.
Exactly, because there was Mourinho as well.
And likes
Mourinho,
being there. No, but likes being there. Like
Yeah.
clearly is just like, this is a great club and talks out. Whereas Mourinho and Conte, it was a bit like, well, well, you should be just happy that I'm here.
Yeah.
I think it's very different, of course. But, Spurs, they are in contention for that fourth Champions League spot. 2 games in hand on Aston Villa, 6 points away. So Spurs, they need victories, Jim Campbell. This is going to be very nerve-wracking.
The barns in North London are all vulnerable this weekend, essentially, because Spurs are an irresistible attacking force. They're very well rested as well, which can go both ways sometimes, can't it? Because it's also good to be in the rhythm of games and just be be ready and firing. I think it's one of those games where Arsenal have to play the game and not the occasion. Whereas I think for Spurs, it might be the opposite, because just having the crowd behind them like that is such a huge advantage, and the atmosphere will be amazing. We know it will.
Yeah.
Arsenal have built so much of what they've done this season on their defensive quality and
they've been
shutting teams out and being really good.
Yeah.
But the thing that can get at that is a really raucous atmosphere and a very vibrant attacking team, and Spurs will have both of those things. So
has Arteta been playing in the training ground like he did with Anfield? The speakers of Spurs fans.
I forgot about
doubt
that.
it. Based on how it went for the Liverpool game that followed that, I very much doubt it.
When people say that what's the point in practicing penalties because you can't simulate that pressure and atmosphere, I just admired Arteta trying to simulate that Anfield atmosphere.
It makes sense to some degree, doesn't it? I think one potential bonus for Arsenal, that depends how the replacements do, of course, is Destiny Udogie is out for the season, and Pedro Porro could be missing as well. So the 2 first-choice fullbacks might not be there.
Yeah,
so that'd be
Spurs.
an opportunity.
It is a shame for Spurs. I mean, Andy, do you think Arsenal? We remember last time towards the end of last season, obviously. It's difficult winning all the time, and especially in the Premier League. But do you see a little slip up, or do you think that they've got that laser sharp focus that one needs to be challenging all the way to the last?
Well, they've got that extra year of experience, which I think is absolutely huge in this sort of situation, and just the mood around Arsenal at the moment, especially off the back of that Chelsea game. I mean, that was extraordinary. I mean, obviously, is not a great Chelsea team. It's just an okay Chelsea team. But the feeling of going and beating this team that you've had so many titanic battles with, and so many titanic battles that you've come up short in because they've been better than you for quite a long time, to be able to do that, I think, is an enormous boost. And can you imagine the feeling that Arsenal would get off winning this game at Spurs? Man. Like, however they do it.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. It would be great for the title.
Well, it would, and I think you're right to talk about it in those terms, because former Aston Villa, Manchester United man and others, Dwight Yorke, said recently that it's concerning that Arsenal have an annual collapse in April. He also said, will Arteta start getting grey hairs? You can't see grey hairs if you dye your hair every day. Arteta won't allow that to show. Your hair can't be that black at that age.
It's confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just think that he'd have other things to be thinking about.
Is Arteta a secret hair dyer?
If he is, it's up to him, isn't it?
Possibly, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Does kind of explain why Dwight Yorke doesn't seem to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dwight. See you next week. Well, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's that quote's actually in Dwight York's show reel as well, and he can't understand why he's not getting more gigs.
Good old Dwight.
I put my personal opinion on this. Is I much prefer it where men let it go natural. I think Andy's hair looks great. You and I, Marcus, have got a little bit of salt and pepper. Jim's got a bit of salt and pepper in as well. Pete Dancer's got it, particularly in his beard.
Yeah.
I think even Vish is showing a bit, even though he's a bit younger.
Right.
I would always prefer, I think it looks much better for men to go natural.
The thing is,
But Arteta ultimately, he's from the Iberian Peninsula. He's very different culturally. Maybe he's got different ideas about it. It's entirely up to him. I don't think Dwight Yorke can take ownership over someone else's hair when he quite simply refuses to take ownership over his own son.
Also, you're enjoying me now, but will you be enjoying me when I've gone full Mourinho in 5 years' time? When I'm bossing you all around, when I'm getting, the Palladium show tattooed on my arm, all this sort of stuff, really badly and blurrily.
Yeah, I think I'd like that. I'd actually like that. I'd like that.
Yeah, we all would.
But can I just make a point about Spurs very quickly, which is just that it's just that there's not much wriggle room for them. They've got these. You talk about their 2 games in hand. You talk about wanting to try and get 4th place. Their run is actually very tough. They've got a couple of winnable ones in there, but they've actually got some really tough games as well. And it's almost a bit like they can't. I'm not saying they would do this because it's a big derby game, but they can't afford to be like, oh, okay, well, if we get a draw at home to Arsenal, that's okay.
Let's Villa in.
It's actually not okay.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the polarisation of the top 5 in the Premier League, how the top 5 in the Premier League, well, the top 3 in the Premier League, but especially that, but also the top 5 in the Premier League, there's quite a big difference between them and everyone else. this is the year that actually the Premier League really could have done with that 5th Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
My heart bleeds for him.
it's potentially still possible. Very, very, very unlikely, but it could still happen. But you really need 4th because it would take such an unlikely spell of results in all the UEFA club competitions for England to get that 5th place.
Well, don't worry, Moz. In 2 years' time, it could be open and Portsmouth could be challenging for it.
Imagine that.
It's within the realms of possibility.
I can't even enjoy that prospect because I know if that were to happen in a year's time after that, they would almost certainly go to the wall. Yeah. So I just careful what you wish for. We don't need any fucking anyone leaving any kind of lamps lying around to rub for a genie and get us the Champions League. We're fine as we are. If Portsmouth as a club see a genie in a lamp, they should ignore it.
Leave it well
also,
alone.
it doesn't get any better than Ronaldinho at Fratton Park. So let's just leave it there.
That's fine, exactly.
Exactly. They had the Europa League stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
Now, we discussed the very important matter of Anne Hathaway outing herself as an Arsenal fan on Wednesday. The Guardian went with the headline, Anne Hathaway is a secret gooner and now her reinvention is complete, which has been causing quite a big stir in the US because gooner means something quite different.
Do you know what gooner means, Marcus?
It's sort of thuggish behaviour.
No,
no.
no.
That is one.
No, it means boys who spend all their time on the internet watching porn.
Oh, is that right?
Mostly boys, right?
I think exclusively boys,
Yeah.
and it's not just watching; they are vigorously participating as best they can
on their own at home.
Well, I consider that thuggish behaviour.
Fair enough. So you're both right. You're both right. Yeah. Didn't they do well?
I don't know. Quick Google. So the word goon was first popular. It's a second meaning, a tough or thug type person.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay.
Oh, sure.
It's worth googling that on the show to show that you were right.
That you were right, even though you weren't.
It certainly makes them hard, Jim. I think we can wait for it.
No, sometimes you will sometimes we'll go the scenic route to deliver quite an underwhelming joke.
Oh, I've got a cheap gag, didn't I?
Exactly.
A cheap laugh.
Yeah.
So
tickets on sale now.
There we go. Oh dear. Yes, Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway. I think this is all nonsense, and they say that in the article as well because she's trying to promote a film. And I'm not having her.
Yeah, they do quite a
She's a fraud, Jim Campbell. I put it to you.
Rolled the R as well. You must really believe in the fraudulence.
Can I just give you a bit further context and those people listening? What Arsenal fans are desperate for is anything that sheds the stink of Osama bin Laden and Piers Morgan.
And DT.
Anne Hathaway and DT, yeah. Anyone at AFTV.
Yeah.
The only thing going for Arsenal fans is they haven't got Rory Jennings.
Who said that Pochettino should have been sacked at half-time the other night? They were 1-0 down.
So Anne Hathaway seems like a pretty good improvement.
Yeah.
If you can get her, if you can indoctrinate her somehow, get her in part of the movement, Jim, you're on the up.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian not an Arsenal fan?
Yeah, and also that's another one that you got to blot out, really, isn't it? I think the Guardian were quite cynical about this. They suggested that she doesn't really like football and it's all just for show.
The Guardian being cynical. It's like looking down their nose, like snooty about something. Have you read Andy's column?
Everyone's welcome. Come on in.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be welcome. We shouldn't be gatekeeping football, should we?
Well, it depends with regards to who.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
You have to ask me if you want to like the Bundesliga.
Yeah, that's
but you
true.
have to ask me,
and you have to be able to name 3 fullbacks currently playing in the Bundesliga.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Let's go up to Newcastle with some unexpected news. Yesterday, as some people would have seen this, Newcastle United player Matt Ritchie passed his large goods vehicle driving test. This week, an image of him with a certificate was doing the rounds on Twitter. According to reports, he has a Category C licence, which means he can drive any vehicle over 7.5 tonnes and under 32 tonnes. Apparently, he's going to go back for a more advanced licence.
He's going to get a lot of work round our way because there's a massive new Greggs that's just opened up.
Love that, Andy. And which is why you moved there. And a lot of lovely jokes about he's going to be driving the team bus, all this kind of
So
stuff.
it's not a shout out to producer Finn for really putting the research into this. But apparently, from what I can make out, he spent most of yesterday working out what licence it was.
Yeah, so we're duty bound to do a few minutes on this.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of insight into this.
Can I just say before you potentially
Pop the blue.
ruin this because we don't know what the actual story is. There's a massive little boy energy to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he was 5 and he wanted to be a lorry driver and now all his dreams have come true and it's enabled him to live his little boy childhood dream. I think that about firemen quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's like,
He can finally knock this whole footballer nonsense on the head.
Exactly.
He can
Just do what he
really
wanted to do.
Yeah.
So apparently it's because his wife is very enthusiastic and spends a lot of her time looking after horses.
Right.
And she needs him to be able to drive them to different places.
Right, I
So
see.
he needs to be qualified to be able to do that, which is also still quite quaint because you think that they would, respectfully, I think they've probably got a bit of money, so they could probably have someone to drive them around if they
Yeah.
wanted. But Matt wants to do it himself, apparently.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
It's Pete Donaldson-esque.
I've got the common touch. I will drive my own horses around. I've not changed. I'm
do
still
everyone else
Matty
does.
from the block.
Just sit on their back. It's actually redeemed Matt Ritchie a little bit in my eyes since he completely mugged me off on national radio once when I talked to him about in a live interview about how we're from the same town. And asked him what his local pub was, and he said he never goes to the pub. He couldn't even name a local pub in Gosport. I was like, all right, cheers.
Oh,
There's like 100 pubs in Gosport. You should be able to name one easily.
Yeah, should do. But
Make
they
one
change
up.
name. easy.
Probably get it right. The White Hart. Is there a White Hart?
There is a White Hart.
course there
actually,
is.
yeah.
Do you
yeah.
think
that, Matt
he's
Ritchie.
top of Stoke Road? Yeah, give me another one.
King's Head.
The Black Bull.
There's not a Black Bull. There is a King. Who said King's Head?
King's Head.
There's a King's Head. Yeah,
Yeah.
on Brockus Road. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think he's pretending to be from Gosport because he's such a massive fan of yours?
Matt-
I think that's the most likely scenario.
Matt Letitia told me he wasn't actually from Gosport.
Right,
Oh.
okay.
Matt Letitia says a lot of things, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he does.
Yeah, specifically to Luke, aka his mouthpiece.
Yeah,
In
we're
it
kindred
together.
spirits.
Yeah.
Do you want to buy some CBD gummies?
Oh, dear.
Hashtag ad.
I think it's time for a break, everybody. Coming up in the second half, we've got West Ham versus Liverpool, Wolves versus Luton, and some mascot chat. Stay tuned for that.
Got major problems with it. For me, looking at that video, that cat hadn't done anything wrong.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble,
It's a
everybody.
weird time, isn't it? Weird time for football.
Love it. And of course, Kurt Zuma's West Ham will host Liverpool on Saturday at 12:30. Liverpool will have to recover from that bruising defeat they took in the Merseyside derby, Andy Brassel. What we also enjoyed about that Merseyside derby was not just seeing lots of Evertonians happy, because that's quite a rare thing, but Wayne Rooney just being involved. Luke and I spoke about this on Ramble React, so make sure you listen to that. But I love the fact that Wayne Rooney dismissed Virgil van Dijk's complaint in the interview after, where Van Dijk was moaning about this. Well, he did question his teammates, and rightly so, and then he started going on about 12:30 kick-ups, and Wazza wasn't having any of it, Morsey.
He wasn't, nor should he be. And Rooney was spot on, as he is about just about everything. I love Wayne Rooney. He's my favourite person in football, so I'm always going to be nice about it. Well, actually,
One of.
him and Gary O'Neill probably. Two of my favourite people in football. But he's absolutely right to say that. The point, for those who didn't see it, what Rooney actually also said, which was the key point to it, to the piece of punditry he was speaking of, was that he said, you know, you're Liverpool, you're going for the league title. You should be so disappointed by that performance. You should want to play tomorrow. You shouldn't be thinking about, oh no, is it going to affect us that we're playing a few hours early or whatever? And we know that football players are under pressure. They're playing a lot of football and all the rest of it. But that is the deal. And so you can't. I just think in a post-match interview, I thought it was a very, very strange thing to say, having just watched how Virgil van Dijk played against Everton.
Yeah.
Is it possible that he was just trying to deflect from the performance, looking ahead to the next thing they could possibly talk about, but while being in a shit mood, so decided to just moan about that as well?
But sometimes you get like, for example, you get boxers who will pick their careers very carefully, and they'll fight fighters at the right time, and they'll do the right deal for them, and they'll avoid other fighters at different times for understandable reasons. A lot of famous cases of that.
I'd only fight people in lower weight classes. I don't know why they don't do that.
No one's thought of that yet. But there's a lot of boxers who will say after a fight, whether they've won, lost, or whatever, they'll say, "I'll fight anyone. I don't care. I don't care when it is, I'll fight anyone." And a lot of that's bravado, but there's a reason for that, because you want to look confident. They should, Liverpool, if they're going for the title, I understand it's a deflating defeat against their rivals at a key moment, but they should be saying things like, we'll play anyone, we don't care.
Yeah, but is it not such a shock that you just don't know what to say?
No, but Andy, I thought that as well. And if Van Dijk started moaning about the referee, for example,
Yeah.
how many people do that? Okay, fine. And if he started moaning about, Everton were really negative with their tactics, again, I wouldn't disagree with it, but we've seen footballers say this after the game. He's specifically talking about kickoff times.
Yeah.
That is not something that players say. So I think it was piss poor from Van Dijk, and I totally agree with Rooney. And I echo Luke's comments.
Yeah, Marcus is on board, Andy. What are you going to say to that?
Yeah, Brassel. But
Yeah.
I just. That's it. You know, it's a particular topic of conversation which shouldn't really be discussed. It's the kind of thing that the manager might say.
Well, that's what it
does
sounds
say.
like. It sounds like it's coming straight from the
100% mouthpiece
Yeah.
stuff, definitely.
I'm sort of tempting people who are much more researched and remember here, but I wouldn't have thought that your great captains of Premier League sides in teams gone by would have started going on about this.
Don't you think this will happen more and more, though? Because I'm not saying that's an excuse for the performance or anything like that, but players are just tired. And for the first time,
Yeah.
they're starting to say it. Now, I'm not talking about this in the context of the title race. I'm talking about this in the context of you saying that's something unusual for him to come out with.
Yeah.
Whereas I think players will start saying this sort of stuff more and more.
But fine, Andy, but they started in their midfield three and their front three. We spoke about this on the Ramble Reacts. They made 5 changes for that Everton game. So I appreciate that, but you know they do have a big squad. I think we're maybe drilling down a little bit too much on a little throwaway comment from Van Dijk.
I think that's it's an important point to make, though, and it is one we made on Wednesday, and I completely agree. What I would say is that it further feeds into this idea that actually, based on that performance, based on the Atalanta performance, I understand they had a win in between that, but it feeds into the idea, in my opinion, that it's quite difficult to see where Liverpool are going to get their next win from.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't the comments of a captain who is like, we're putting that behind us, we're moving on. As you know, Marcus has said before, as Sven-Göran Eriksson used to say, the thing that kind of really unified all the best players he worked with is they didn't let stuff affect them. They move on to the next thing and they take it on as it comes.
But I think there's a big sense of like Liverpool are not quite ready in the way that Arsenal are ready for.
But it doesn't matter, Andy, because
We're
you've
talking
got
about Virgil van Dijk here,
and
though.
you've got to give an impression of someone who's going to be who's ready. It's fine to have that kind of conversation internally and have your own kind of targets. You know, but excellent. My point is, let's put it another way. Van Dijk saying that, does that galvanise West Ham and make them more motivated, or doesn't
No,
it?
that's not what I said. I
know you didn't say that, but I'm asking you a question.
It just feeds into the fact that they're just not ready. And
West Ham will take a lot of heart from that.
I think the fact, I don't know, with the place what West Ham are at the moment. I think West Ham are the ideal opponent for Liverpool.
I think
this
the
point in
opposite
time.
is true as well, though, because West Ham, it's a big scalp. It's a big chin to aim at, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
They need a bit of motivation. They'll think, you know what, these guys are down in the dumps a little bit. Let's go at them.
And
Do you think
former
because-
Everton manager David Moyes wouldn't mind a bit of this.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't on paper, but the reality is
He's not bothered.
West Ham,
He just wants a punch up.
West Ham are exhausted.
Yeah.
They're not in a great place at the moment. They've got a manager who knows that he's going. There's not a great mood around there at the
You
moment.
could be talking about either club at the moment, which is what makes this tie particularly interesting,
It's a
right?
good point. It's a great point. Andy, I mean, sorry to jump in, Marcus, but it'd be great to hear about your chat about Arnie Slot.
Wow,
Yes.
now you're talking.
Because my insight into Arnie Slot is he looks like Big Pav, and I'm all for it for that reason. There's not going to be loads of memes.
Also, 4 eggs in the northwest. If that happens,
It's a hotbed. Carl Walker can't believe it.
Yeah, he can't.
Carl Walker's laying eggs everywhere.
United need to think about this very carefully if they're getting rid of Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
Narrows the field of replacements.
Because
doesn't it?
It certainly does.
The chat a couple of weeks ago, Marcus, wasn't it, that like Ruben Amorim was going to be the new Liverpool manager, and that's like it was like people were saying it was done, and now Slot's come from nowhere.
Well, Amorim's been heavily linked, of course, with the Liverpool job, but then West Ham have apparently opened talks with him. Although some are saying is that
Just trying to get
Amorim's
motivation,
people to try and sort of outfox Slot's lot.
Okay.
But Slot he's keen. I mean, he's come out and said. He's up for it essentially, which is quite rare for a manager
Yeah.
to do something.
Not a
like
Dutchman.
this.
yeah.
Well, yes,
Classic
indeed.
frankness.
Yeah.
He was linked with the Spurs job last summer, and he said at the time, the next step will not be another club in Holland. If that is the next step, I've failed completely in the upcoming few years.
Again, it's
Very
that
Dutch.
frankness, isn't it? But I mean, he looks a good fit in terms of his sort of attacking principles and the sort of pressing game that he plays with the squad Liverpool have and the way they've been playing for a long time. There's going to be a lot of stuff that they're already pretty adept at. He seems pretty good with the media. Seems to be able to win people over pretty quickly. So,
Andy, tell us what you think about him.
Well, we've talked about him at some depth in Ask OTC, which is out today. But I think the key points to make that is he's not come from nowhere, really. You know, Premier League clubs have been interested in him for a long time. Spurs offered him the job last summer, and he said no. He signed a new contract with Feyenoord, and that's why there are these negotiations ongoing at the moment, because there's not a specific out, it seems, of that contract. So you imagine Feyenoord and Liverpool get there, but it will be quite expensive. But if they're picking someone that they want that's totally specific for their needs, I think he's a pretty good get, because he's a coach who's been on his way up. He did great at AZ, could have won the league if the Eredivisie hadn't been binned off for COVID in 1920. Has done really well under a lot of pressure at Feyenoord, and in any normal Eredivisie, they would have won the league this season. But PSV are absolutely flying this season.
Won 8-0 last night.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, away at Heerenveen. So, and you talked about him in the media, Jim. He's hugely angered José Mourinho in the mini Feyenoord-Roma rivalry that there's been over the last couple of years, simply because of that straight talking. He didn't pick a fight with him. He was asked about Mourinho's style of play, and he said, to be honest, I just prefer to watch Napoli or Man City. As you can imagine, Mourinho took this really well. But the way he managed that afterwards, he wasn't rattled.
No.
And I think that's incredibly important in a Premier League context, because we can sit here talking about his tactics, and I think they are quite suitable to the way that Liverpool want to play. But the mastery of the media side of it is probably more important in the Premier League than it is in most leagues.
Yeah, I'd agree
because I think rather than talking about X's and O's and formations, we still like to talk about the chip in the press conferences, and that can change the momentum of a Premier League season.
I mean, you guys were talking on Monday about Erik ten Hag and how he doesn't perhaps quite always get that right, and that it does pile the pressure on Man United, and especially if you're a big huge club like United or Liverpool, where the spotlight is constantly on you. It does make a difference, doesn't it? I've also heard, Andy, I don't know if you have any insight into this, that he's very, very good at simplifying things, making his training sessions very, very clear and simple, and just getting the message across very clearly, which could be useful for Núñez, right? Just take the round thing, between the posts.
There you go.
Well, I think that's like, joking aside, that's one of his key projects. The fact that if you know that Darwin has the ability to score like 25 goals a season, how do you get him to that point? And what he's done with Santi Jimenez at Feyenoord, if he could do a similar job on Darwin, to do that to an existing player, that's the important thing, because obviously when you get a new coach in, people are straight away going, what Feyenoord players is he going to buy? Which new players are Liverpool going to get to push them over the hump next season? But so much of it is about working with the existing players and getting the most out of them. And I think certainly in the front half of the pitch, getting a bit more out of what's already there is absolutely key to Liverpool next season.
The problem is the Dutch league's Walt Disney, innit? So it just depends whether he can make the step up to the Premier League.
But to be fair, though, he's done brilliantly in the Dutch league. It's like, if you are going to kind of, graduate out of it, if that's not too sort of Anglo-centric and smug a term to use,
with not the biggest club,
he's at the point where you do that, right?
And also had good runs in Europe as well.
Really competitive.
Is this rivalry between him and Mourinho big enough that Jose might come back to England?
There you
He's got a new competitor.
Maybe they both turn up for work on the first day at Liverpool. Pre-season training. It's my job.
Jose's a squatter.
Yeah.
He's claiming squatters' rights.
Yeah.
That would be good.
He's still in the cottage, mate.
Well, speaking of the Merseyside derby, Rod53 shared a picture of the Everton matchday programme from Wednesday night on the Football Ramble Discord. One page shows a Q&A with Jordan Pickford where he's asked what one rule change he'd have in football. His answer was scrap fouls and let's get on with it.
Which incidentally is how he has played his entire career.
He has, He's all right. He's got a pair of gloves on. Scrap. Just let's get on with it.
It's such chaotic energy. When you see that written down, you just picture him when he's on his mate's shoulders at that party, like in the summer after the World Cup. Like
it's incredible. Imagine that though, but on the eve of the Euros, and Southgate's getting interviewed and say, "Have you seen this?" And that's your number one saying that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's the most anti-Gareth Southgate quote ever.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it. And let's get up for crying out loud.
Just get on with it.
Yeah. Just people chinning each other, unrecognisable.
I remember someone pointing out a week or so ago, Pickford, it was on X, which used to be called Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
So actually some pretty good stuff on there. And Pickford makes an amazing save, starts pumping his fist, celebrating, G's the crowd up behind the goal, and then just tells everyone to calm down. It's like for the corner. He's like, all right, Jordan. Yeah.
That's possibly the best save reaction since Felipe Melo went in goal for Galatasaray when their goalkeeper was sent off. He saved a last-minute penalty to secure them a 1-0 win, but they always called him the Pitbull, so he did like a Pitbull celebration.
I remember that,
crawl across the floor. And he's crawling across the floor while the other side are recuperating the ball and trying to get it back in the box. And obviously, with most teams, the defender's going, "What are you doing? Get up!" And it's like, we can't approach him. He's way too hard for that. Let's just let it finish naturally.
Yeah.
Marvellous. On Saturday, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m, Wolves host Luton Town. Now, important one for Luton, this, of course, because one of their relegation rivals, Sheffield United, could be the first to go this weekend. It's suddenly you think about that and you're down here, you're like, bloody hell, it's happening.
Yeah.
The trap door is open.
Yeah.
So Luton need to win this, of course. And on recent performances, Jim, I don't trust them.
No, I don't either. It feels like it's the stresses and the perils of the season have sort of caught up with them a little bit, doesn't it? After that result at Brentford, but or against Brentford.
But they've had some tough games around that. I mean, the only other,
manner of the Brentford defeat.
That's
though.
it. Yeah.
fine, that's fair. But the only other game around that they played someone they could beat, really, they did win. It was against Bournemouth.
I mean, the only
Arsenal, Spurs, and Man City they played apart from.
I mean, the hope for them is, of course, Forest are playing Manchester City. You wouldn't fancy Forest getting something there.
And Forest are playing like Forest are playing at the moment, or Forest are getting results like Forest are getting at the moment.
So they're the ones they need to kind of reel in, really.
I think you've got to look at it another way with Luton. Wolves have got absolutely nothing to play for.
Loads of injuries as well.
Loads of injuries, and they haven't
Tons.
won for ages. You should be going into that game sniffing blood. You can't Virgil van Dijk it and go, I'm not sure about the
Well, yeah,
kickoff
true.
time.
I mean, I'm saying this. I mean, if Luton were to get anything from the game, they would. I mean, they're only a point behind Forest. Maybe I'm being a bit too hasty here, of course.
Yeah.
But I look at the squads and
It's
I
all
think
to play for, though.
it is all to play for.
It
And
is.
I think one of the things Forest could be doing in among all this is obviously just trying to galvanise themselves and trying to use anything they can to propel themselves away from the relegation zone. I don't know, but yeah, no, it's a fair point, Luke, that Wolves are in a pretty bad way at the moment.
And the situation is down the bottom is that Sheffield United will be relegated. Might be this weekend, might not, probably will be. Right, you've got 2 out of those other 3 are going to get relegated. So if you're Luton, Burnley, or Nottingham Forest, you've got to make yourself. It's easier said than done, of course, but you've got to make yourself the team that doesn't go down. Everyone above 17th is basically safe. So there's 2 from 3 who are going to go.
Yeah,
and I think Luton should really be targeting this game. I know
They should, and like Burnley being back in the mix though makes it so interesting.
they've been in good form. They've only lost one of their last 6 or so.
really,
they're in
really good form.
Yeah.
And they're at Old Trafford this weekend, aren't they? So
There you go.
probably going to win.
Anything can happen. There's no point even trying because it'll just be some chaotic thing will happen. It might be a win, it might not, but you'll have no control out of it because no one does. And then eventually Scott McTominay will do something. Could be an own goal, could be a goal for Man United. We don't know.
well, in the world,
It's like a fucking one of those tombolas.
It is. Well, when Wolves host Luton, it will be the battle of the 2 worst mascots in the league, according to Pete Donaldson. He said Wolfie and Wendy needed a hot wash, and that Luton's mascot, Happy Harry, was a spiv with Fred West sideburns.
It's a very, very good observation. That to be
Happy
fair.
Harry looks exactly
He
like
looks
that.
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a darkness behind those felt eyes. We've got an email from Jacob on this very topic. He says, "Hello Ramblers. I wanted to carry on the mascot chat from last Monday's show. I'm also a Wolves fan, and while Wolfie did get a makeover at the start of the season, the fan on Monday's show failed to mention that the makeover was poorly received by Wolves fans. In a summer where we lost our manager 4 days before the start of the season and a lot of key players to comply with FFP, this felt makeover appeared to be the tip of the iceberg for Wolves fans, some of whom even threatened to boo him." Wolfie also once got into a fight with Bristol City's Three Little Pigs mascot on the pitch in the late 90s after taunting one of the mascots for missing a penalty.
Remember
this
that?
was in a weird sort of mascots half-time sort of tournament thing. He's linked a video. It looks like a genuine fight breaks
Yeah, it
out.
does,
It's
between 2
really,
of them. Yeah,
really
sorry.
quite something.
I also kind of feel that the old Wolfie mascot was far more like it was just far more commensurate with the football club mascot. The new one just looks like it comes straight out of Paw Patrol or something.
See, that's
bit
the
3D
problem, isn't it?
printing energy.
Because if you think of Wolfie from that era, Cyril the Swan was tearing
Yeah,
it
classic,
up as well.
classic.
these are legends of the mascot
Yeah.
game.
Exactly.
I think
Your arm.
That's what I think. That's what Pete was trying to express.
Yeah.
That, he done fell so hard.
Yeah. Oh, Jacob finishes. Cheers, lads. Head to footballramblelife.com.
Nice one, Jacob.
Yeah, good
Cheers,
with
mate.
Jacob. Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
Where's Vish?
What that means?
Where is Vish?
You can come out now.
Fucking Vish,
Do you know,
coward.
Do you know what? That doesn't matter because Marcus Speller just did funk air guitar.
It's air bass,
To-
really. It was a bit of air bass,
Air
wasn't it?
bass, bruv.
Yeah.
Was it?
It's left-handed, but he does left-handed air guitar and
Yeah.
right-handed real guitar.
That is correct.
Huh. How interesting.
I'm playing football with Vish tonight, and because he's not here today,
Yeah.
if I win this Jackson Encyclopedia today,
You get Jordan Pickford rules.
I'm going to 2-foot him to celebrate.
Well, I'll tell you what, as you're so
Will
good
you
at this...
explain that to the referee?
yeah.
As you're so good at this game, Morsey, I will explain the rules just to the listeners and to Jim and Marcus. It's a simple game of categories. If you go too slow, I'll play Gary Neville's orgasm, which will leave you 7 seconds. Luke Nation, of course, bagged the win over Marcus Mount and the brass band last week.
I'll do it for the nation.
Yeah. What's Jim got, by the way?
Clan Campbell.
Clan Campbell, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Do you know that's a very cheap whiskey in France?
Is it Clan Campbell? I feel like it might be. I feel like it might be the Aldi version of Bell's as well.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like it might be. Yeah.
We'll be having words about that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's get on. Great first category for you. Watford got a new manager
God.
this
bloody
week.
Laura.
And there have been a lot of Watford managers, of course. Give me every single manager since the Pozzo family bought the club in June 2012. And that will probably take us until June 2032
Who's
to get
first?
through to that. Includes interims. Marcus Speller, can you go first, please?
Marco Silva.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Well, at least I know one.
Kike Sanchez Flores.
Bollocks!
Walter Matsari.
Oh, good one, mate.
Blimey.
Well done.
Excellent.
Nigel Pearson.
Oh,
That just came to me, baby.
Yeah. Javi Grazia.
Nice.
The pace on this is very
nice.
pleasing.
Roy Hodgson.
Bollocks!
Forgot about Hodge.
Fortunately for you, I can't find the countdown button. I can now.
Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has
Graham
been
Taylor.
I think it's only fair that he gets a mention. Okay.
The much missed Graham Taylor.
This is so annoying because I think Jim's going to win this point.
Yeah, Jim's got a lazy.
Marcus has been in no sort of form whatsoever, so it's Jim I'm worried about.
Fair.
This is a bit of a flyer. Sean Dyche. I knew he played for him. I knew he
First
played-
manager to be sacked by the Pots.
Blimey.
I
thought he was
the one I had.
Did you have that one, Jim? Okay.
There are some humdingers left,
Come
you know.
on, don't get it.
There are.
Don't get it. This is my point if he doesn't get it.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
Oh,
The headline has been
Neil Warnock.
Oh,
Come on.
Yes!
It's
That's
worth
massive for
There's
me.
going
Worth the
to
stab.
be some we kick ourselves with
I
here,
know,
isn't there?
Yeah, now, of course, I'd forgive you for not knowing Billy McKinley, sacked after 8 days in October 2014. But you could have had Chris Wilder, Claudio Ranieri, Gianfranco Zola, Giuseppe
course.
Sanino, Hayden Mullins, Oscar Garcia,
bloody hell.
Rob Edwards,
Oh, yes. of
Slaven
course.
Bilic, Slavisa Jokanovic, Tom Cleverley, currently the man in possession,
yes, yeah.
Valerian Ishmael, Vladimir Ivic, and Zisco.
I like the way
Wiki wild.
I like the way you say cleverly and currently in possession of it, like it's something that's
Yeah,
like a hot
yeah,
potato.
yeah,
that You
yeah.
can't have it for longer than about 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's
Jukanovic is a
daring
Fulham
saying
link
that.
there.
Daring saying that. Of course, it could be the curse of we get to the end of the show, and by the time you're listening to this, he's
He's
no
gone.
longer
Marcus.
Watford manager. So a point to Luke Moore.
Jukanovic is a Fulham link there, so you must be a bit gutted about that.
I'm absolutely gutted.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just resigned to another defeat like Liverpool here.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
He's not happy with the timing of the
don't be,
fixture.
because I think this second category could be a bit of you spells. Luke is starting though,
Oh, is
the
he?
top scoring Englishman
Oh,
from every season of the Premier League, not
Oh.
including this season. So there are 19 players.
Okay.
Luke, start me off.
Yeah, we'll do. I'm going to take a flyer. Frank Lampard? Surely.
Excellent.
top scoring Englishman.
Yeah.
in every season of
Yes.
the Premier League.
So if they've won it more than once, it just counts as one, obviously.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
one
fine.
answer,
Okay,
one
fine.
person.
Yeah, I
yes.
can't now say Frank Lampard.
Is it, if he's done it more than once, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Marcus? Oh, it's Jim.
No, it's
Sorry,
Jim.
Jim. Sorry.
Sorry, Harry Kane.
Alan Shearer.
Very good. Andy Cole?
Excellent.
Michael Owen.
Gotta be.
Robbie Fowler.
Ooh.
Oh, you're joking.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a stinker.
Unbelievable. I'm as shocked about that as you.
I'm gutted here because I had other answers I knew were correct.
Take it to the bridge, Lukey.
Wayne Rooney?
Jamie Vardy.
Oh, very good, Jim.
Excellent.
Okay.
Again, some very good answers left.
Teddy Sheringham?
Kevin Phillips.
Oh,
nice
Jim.
one. That's a
Oh,
lovely one.
yes.
Jim's the best at this game, I'm
That's a
telling you.
lovely one.
He's underrated. Okay, I'm going deep cuts
tough
now.
now, isn't
This
it?
is like 2 a.m. at a jungle night, and I'm asking for deep cuts to be played because I'm not ready to go home. James Beattie.
Oh, blimey.
Good one, very good.
He wants to win this game so badly, he's giving credit to ex-Southampton players. That's how much he wants it, Luke Nation.
Chris Sutton.
Oh,
Well
Jim,
played.
This is an incredible round.
I had him down annoyingly. I went, fucking Fowler, though.
Gonna have to hurry you.
Marcus Stewart. I feel like.
Oh,
Yes!
Yeah,
We talked about him the other week, didn't
Yeah.
we?
Marcus Stewart.
He used to
Great
Jim.
Marcus
He used
Stewart.
to torment Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So I always kept an eye on his career.
Ooh.
I'm basically out now. I'm out. I've got any more.
Question is Jim.
Ian Wright.
Well, I thought he might get a mention. And Luke
Congratulations, what does it mean to be League One champion?
Luke wins 2-0.
Oh no, Luke Moore.
The annoying thing is I had Dion Dublin down, and he's a
He's
right.
definitely in there.
One. Jermaine Defoe was the other one I had, but I'm not sure he would have been on there.
Yes, he would have been. Both of those. The remaining answers that we didn't get, Andy Johnson, Darren Bent, Daniel Sturridge, Dion Dublin, Jermaine Defoe, Ricky Lambert, and Stephen Gerrard in 2008.
Gerrard,
2009.
wow.
I probably would have guessed Gerrard next if I had to.
Can't believe Fowler went in there.
Fucking great win.
There we
Fish
are.
is frightened, and it's understandable that he's frightened because I'm on a fucking roll.
You are, mate. And he's nowhere to be seen yet again.
So he's getting 2-footed tonight then.
Big fan.
Right.
A little spoiler for you, he would have been anyway.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.